Daniel Raditch, once a promising teacher that really liked his students' minds, to a vice principal in Degrassi High who basically was the visible principal, to the real principal of Degrassi Next Generation, to this, as in the picture. What the heck happened to him? Hi, it's Cutter, and this Degrassi shooting episode is entitled, Did Raditch do something wrong? Or no? So anyway, this is basically an episode talking about Raditch and his role in season 4 of Next Generation's shooting timeline. But before we get to that, a little bit of side story on his character, played by Dan Woods. In a recent Degrassi reunion thing in Toronto, he said that he was actually supposed to be a caretaker for the city of York. Dan Woods was, and then they called him and said, "Do this show with kids and all that." And he even was appearing in the Degrassi reunion episode of Journal Vision in 1999, saying that basically he came out of theater school hoping to be the apprentice to somebody, not being the main guy. But anyway, his character in Degrassi Junior High was pretty cool. Like, he liked his students. He thought they were nice students. Joey basically had it out for him for reasons that a lot of people don't know about. He was okay. He was a good principal. I know that he bullied Yick, and Yick basically got mad at him for all these things. But the fact of the matter is that Raj cared about his students. And then he became the vice principal in Degrassi High, and you can tell that Joey was not thrilled because Joey's like, "I keep hearing Raj's voice. That can't be him. That can't be him." But anyway, he's the vice principal, and he comes into prominence in the Claude Tanner shooting episode of Degrassi High, when he takes his own life, mostly because Caitlin refuses his advances and all that. And he basically makes some poignant speeches to a class of students saying that, in short, we all feel overwhelmed sometimes, but the best thing to do is not to think about suicide, because once you do, everything's over, and basically you can't come back. So seeing this, he was okay and all that. Unfortunately for him, he was kind of a tight ass, if you will. And then came Next Generation. When he becomes principal, he has his hands full of dealing with students who are just being stupid and all that. He didn't really come into, his overreactions didn't really come into prominence until season 2, when Emma was doing this genetically modified foods thing, and Raj, of course, declined it. And then Emma was upset that Raj didn't give her the time of day, and she handed out flyers. And then basically Emma realizes that she will give in to Raj, but then they do some kind of stupid cafeteria commercial, and Emma gets pissed off. And then there's a food fight, and Raj unfairly blames her for the food fight because of the protest, and just suspends her for the rest of the day. Emma decides to forego the genetically modified foods protest into the rights of free speech, basically saying that Raj is a tyrant and all that. Raj tries to get Emma to apologize to the whole school for what she did, but she refuses. She said she would drop her genetically modified foods clause in exchange for free speech, and refuses to let Raj win. So she's suspended for the rest of the week. It's obvious that Raj overreacts. In season 3, in that famous Breakfast Club send-off about Saturday detention, he does the right thing for Saturday detention, especially with Sean. You know, Sean lashing out at Raditch and all that. Jimmy and Toby were both put in there because Toby was asked to change Jimmy's grade and all that. And Jimmy was upset that Toby outed him too, because, you know, Toby got caught, and then Toby thought he would do the thing by letting getting Jimmy there. Ellie got Saturday detention because she missed too many classes because of her issues with her cutting and all that. And Hazel, for some reason, got in detention, but that was because she had looked at some illegal sites, quote unquote. Anyway, Raj is told by Simpson, who in season 3 had to deal with leukemia, that, you know, life's too short. You gotta can't take things for granted. And Raj decides to cancel Saturday detention and let everyone go free. But season 4 is when we see a dark, sinister side of him. Now, when Rick came back to Degrassi, Raditch definitely was protecting Rick and all that, mostly because Rick had a right to an education and all that. Seeing that Rick had hurt Terry and put her in a coma outside school grounds, Raditch couldn't do a damn thing about it. It's logical that he thought of that. And because no charges were laid against Rick, he had the right to allow him back into school because his parents pulled him from school. It wasn't like he was expelled. Raditch was, of course, upset that everyone thought that he was doing a terrible job letting Rick back. And mostly because with Terry not in school, I think Raditch had the right to put him in school. I mean, Rick, if Terry was there, Rick definitely would not have been allowed. I think Raditch would have thought it would be a good idea. So unfortunately, he draws the dire ire of Emma, who tells Raditch, "We don't want him at our school." And he responds by saying, "This is not one of your stupid causes." That might have led to the silent protest, because I know the silent protest was a way to get rid of Rick without running afoul of the administration. But Emma must have thought that Raditch basically was calling her out for her stupid causes. So basically what ends up happening is that she does the silent campaign, and Raditch, we see a few seconds of him just glare at Emma. Could that have been a major contributing factor in why he stopped caring about Rick? Now, as we all know, in Time Stands Still Part 1, Rick was unhappy that Jimmy got put on the Wacky Brain team, replacing Hannah St. Clair, because, you know, Jimmy's being a bully. And when Emma says, "Why don't you go to Simpson?" Rick says, "I can't go to Simpson," because he'll know. So basically, he goes to Raditch trying to get Jimmy off the team, and he tries to talk to Raditch, but Raditch refuses to listen to belief. It's me thinking that basically Rick was asking Raditch a lot of dumb questions, and Raditch was pissed off at him and said, "Come back to me when something serious happens." Not giving Rick the time or day, which is kind of stupid in a way, but you know, that's not good. And then Raditch actually comes around when he sees the Paint and Feathers prank, and basically chews out the school for the fact that he spent 25 years in Degrassi, being affiliated with Degrassi, and this is the most embarrassing thing he's ever dealt with. He wants answers immediately. And he thinks he has answers because Spinner accidentally mocked Rick in front of Raditch, and Raditch basically puts two and two together and wants Spinner to meet him after school. And then he tells Rick how sorry he is about the incident and says, "Take the day off, we'll figure something out." And Snake is upset because Raditch's hindsight was terrible. Raditch basically pulled off Snake by saying, "This is not preschool, and making friends is not part of the curriculum." So anyway, after the shooting happens, he goes to the immediate room to talk to Snake because he wants to know if Snake to get into Rick's emails to see what type of bullying he was under. And Snake is upset because now he cares and all that. He basically wants Raditch to answer for his trouble. Spike stops the argument. So anyway, Snake does take a little bit of responsibility, saying that we should have taken it more seriously. But what if Snake was going to take a more responsible approach? But anyway, after the shooting, Raditch assured everyone on the Monday that it'll be an hour to reflect. You can do whatever schoolwork. You don't have to go to class. There'll be no classes. And everything will be fine. It's a judgmental thing. But my next video, I will be doing I wrote a fanfic about how I would inject myself into the Degrassi shooting storyline and shoot out Raditch, but that'll be coming up soon. And another one. So anyway, so basically after the shooting, he tries to put the kibosh on Degrassi. Not Degrassi, Dracula. Degrassi's performance of Dracula. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, it was a dark play, you know, severed heads and all that. I can understand where he gets it from because it was a week after the shooting. All that. But Liberty JT says that they need the school to heal, and this would help. Raditch suggests a musical, and Liberty JT are hesitant. There are signs that say that basically Raditch had thought of that to try to boost his image up because he was worried about, he was probably consciously worried about how people would perceive him, as he knew he screwed up with Rick. So anyway, Raditch ends up getting mocked in a song by Liberty. Then he sends Liberty and JT to Monday detention and inadvertently gives them a relationship. So then basically Raditch ends up being dismissed the next day, I think, on the Tuesday. The school board reassigns him and all that. And of course he gets a gift from the student body and all that, which kind of peeved me off. Now, it raises a few major points. In a Reddit post I did about a month ago, I said, big mystery from season 4. And this is what I said. As we all know from the shooting, one of the aftermaths was when Raditch got carried away with running the school, reading Dracula because it was too graphic. Seemingly off-screen threatening to punish students, as referenced with the drum club refusing to sing the Raditch song for fear of expulsion. Got mad at Liberty and JT for the song, and then got jettisons away from Degrassi. There are two things I wanted solved. One was he fired? Was he forced out, quote unquote? Was he actually resigning before things got too bad? Or was he forced to take a deal to seem reassigned? And if he didn't, he could have been dealing with the police for his lack of effort towards helping Rick. And two was, who was the person responsible for his reassignment? Was it Simpson? Was it Liberty and or JT? Was it the student body who basically told their parents, who then told the school board? Was it the staff? / Simpson? Oh no, Simpson. Was it that school board guy? In Voices Carry Part 1, there's a school board guy, I think he might have been from the school board, who hovers around Raditch's shoulder and all that, who overheard Raditch's remarks. Or maybe Rick's mom had actually realized that things happened and off-screen basically wanted answers. So I got some comments, and Keon said, quote, I always took it that he was let go by a vote from the school board due to his poor lack of judgment and action that may have kept the school shooting from happening in the first place. Principals serve as management to schools, and like any business, if the business tanks, it's the manager that's going to be let go. And then I said, but how did they come to this vote? What was their reasoning? And then Pac-Man said a few things, and he said, logically, the school board would have reassigned him. I don't know how Canadian schools work, but in the States, all directions related to hiring are left to the school board. Reassign tells me that he still worked for the district, but not as a principal. It says, beyond that, it's just fan speculation to what happened. My guess is that either the police or the school, or both, investigated what happened to Rick and what triggered him. As part of the investigation, they probably would have interviewed Raditch, Snake, Emmy, Emma, Toby, Jimmy, and Sean, and all that. We know that Toby wanted justice for Rick, so he would have probably told them that Raditch did nothing. And I think Rick did tell someone that, he's looked for, if he was under oath, Raditch would have had to tell the truth. That Rick, just before the shooting, came in his office seeking help with bullying, but told him to suck it up. Now, I'm going to interject before I say more about his Reddit post. But Rick was not actually completely straightforward with asking Raditch for the request. He basically didn't say that Jimmy was bullying him and all that. He just said Jimmy didn't like him. And as a school, okay, back to Pokemon. As a school board, they're going to look at that and think, wow, this guy isn't fit to be principal. It's hard to say whether he was given an ultimatum or not, but that isn't likely. They probably said, quote, in light of recent events and your response to a student who sought your help and the fact you did nothing to alleviate the situation, we are relieving you of your duties as principal and reassigning you to another position. And it intrigues me that he was not fired, he was just reassigned. I'd like to know where he was reassigned to. And he has it in his headcanon or fanfic that he demoted him English teacher and sent him to the junior high building. Yeah. And then I wrote, I like the interview idea and the explanation, but did any of the kids know that Raditch was ignoring Rick at all? They probably heard it secondhand. And I said, it's interesting about Sean. I never mentioned in any of my videos about Sean leaving Degrassi, but he might have unintentionally sparked Jade Spin's plan to get Rick back from vandalism when I said, don't tell Raditch because he will want to know what happened to your cars, why he spray painted your cars. And Pac-Man said, if Snake knew that Raditch saw Rick and did nothing, I'm certain the students did, especially Toby. He says that speculation about Sean, the plan to use the paint and feathers was triggered by Rick making the X sign to Spinner, Alex, and Jay. And then I said, I wasn't talking about the paint and feathers being the plan. When Sean told Jay and Spinner not to go to Raditch, they never mentioned paint and feathers. They said they have another plan in mind. And then I said, when Rick made the X sign to Jay and company, that was the key for paint and feathers. Also, the fact that Jimmy was switching sides. So that still alleviates me. It's like, how did it happen? And then I wrote a recent post about big mystery to why Raditch was dismissed and who was the cause. But it occurred to me, did he attempt to find the culprit/culprits after the shooting? And Flip said, I don't think he attempted to, but probably asked Simpson for more information. And Desai said, yeah, he walked into Simpson's classroom and asked if he could get into Rick's email to look for warning signs. And Simpson was pissed off because Rick reported the bullying directly to Raditch many times and he ignored it. And Raditch said that school board voted to fire him. It's because of his poor management before and after the incident. So yeah. It also causes a big issue is that when I said all these things about who could have forced him out, I mean, Liberty and JT probably were ticked off that Raditch was being unfair about Degrassi and basically was just running the school saying that I run the school, you have to follow me, and basically told the school board. The students could have probably heard about what happened and felt his ire and then basically told the parents who told the school board trustee and he might have been forced out. Simpson possibly could have been a cause for Raditch gone. Although Simpson, in the background of things, shook Raditch's hand. I think just saying that there's no hard feelings. I don't think Snake was to blame for this. Also, you got to think about potentially Rick's mom and all that. I know Rick's mom, after that funeral scene in Back in Black, we didn't see her at all. The problem was that maybe she did some stuff behind the scenes. I don't know whatever happened to that. Did she have to face repercussions because her son had a gun at school? Or did she finally realize? Now, the point is, she could have wanted answers to do with Raditch in the shooting. But the fact of the matter is that it also comes down to the fact that Rick was refusing to tell his mother anything because he wanted to go to Degrassi and he didn't want her to butt in any way. So, yeah, can't do that. I think the school board kind of had a hunch that something was fishy and wanted to see if Raditch was handling it. And when it was obvious he wasn't handling it, things like that. So that's all I've got for this one. I know he's the main focus. He's not the main reason why the shooting happened. You got to blame Spinner, Jay, and crew. But that's just what I want. Stay tuned for my fanfic about me confronting Raditch soon.